Hey everybody, it's Mary Ellen coming to you today from Moonrise Cottage. It's great to be here. Have I think just an interesting conversation that's been going on inside of me. It has to do with all the things that I've been talking about for a year and a half, and my spirit guides are giving me. I guess the impetus is what's going on in the background for us to begin a little bit deeper exploration of things that I believe that most of us already know. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm a little compressed for time. For those of you that are new, welcome. It's always really exciting to me to meet all the wonderful people who show up on this channel. And basically, I'm here as a clairvoyant person, fulfilling my own mission to help us all evolve into that which we are, is what my spirit guides are saying. So we talk about a lot of things here. Spirit's talking about in order to support the journey that we are all having together. So today we're going to talk about that togetherness. And it's interesting, I hadn't thought about it when I set up this live stream, but here we are, still in the sign of Virgo, but now Venus has moved into the sign of Scorpio. So we're going to touch on that a little bit. And I think, depending on my own life, if I can fit it in, maybe we'll do a live stream about Venus and Scorpio, especially during the retro. It's going to be awesome. And it's perfectly attenuated. So we are going to talk about attenuation. I want to thank Dana, who popped up and asked that question, what does that mean? Because Spirit talks about it through me a lot, particularly this year. So I'm going to just sort of chat with all of you a little bit. We're going to be really informal. For all the returning subscribers and viewers, thank you for being here. Most of you know I'm in a process of Spirit saying attenuating my own energy, and part of that process is doing a lot of renovations here at Moonrise Cottage to begin the process of preparing for those people who are meant to come here to have a journey in this place and with me. All right, Spirit's talking about creating the possibility of that after many years of me being here, sort of cloistered in my own little existence. All right. So if you're here, say hello. Let us know where you're viewing from, and I will check in with the chat. Hi, Wally. Hi, Karen. Hey, Ingrid, I was thinking about you this morning. There's a request coming through from my spirit guides about artwork. So we'll talk about that at some point. I think I said that once before and then I didn't get to it. So just so you know, okay? So I have been trying to figure out how to transmit the messages that are coming through. And I think it's Spirit says it's a wide, rambly conversation to help us tie together all these threads that my spirit guides talk about, okay? So I'm going to toggle over to the cards for the month of August. And we'll use that as a little jumping off place. And then I'm just going to ramble. Wow. Okay, did you hear that? That's the kind of thing that's been happening here. Just energy expansion. There's a lot of intensity. I have no idea what that was. But there's a lot going on. And Spirit's saying, sort of to cue up the conversation. And Spirit's talking to me about the Big Bang Theory. We're going to get there. I'm going to talk about quantum physics. And just as full acknowledgement, I am not an expert in any of these topics. But they come into our awareness. And they come into our awareness and we dabble there because we're curious and because there is a specific meaning for us in our set point. And I think in our human adventure in this time that we're in. All right. So at some point, hi Joanne, I'm affirming that. Am I saying that right? That's fantastic. So I'm going to jump into the cards. we're going to talk a little bit, and Spirit's asking me to help you look into the cards as a representation of all the things that are going to come out of me, all right? And with the set point, the notion of sacred geometry, the discovery of fractals in 1975. If you don't know what that's all about, please go and Google it. It's a universe of its own knowledge, and it's really fascinating to me. The types of things that are being discovered and the types of things that are being revealed to us as we go deeper into our own evolution. Okay? So, hang on. I got to toggle over to my software, and we'll play with the cards a little bit, just because. All right. So, one of the things we're going to talk about, you know what? Let me just give you the brief overview. All right. We're going to talk a little bit about light language, about astrology, about quantum physics, about this notion of DNA activation and Kundalini energy activation. We're going to touch into fractals. We're going to talk about mind theory, about all that stuff, and the energy of the Tapestry Attenuation. So maybe actually that's the place I should start, since we're looking at the cards together. Okay, so attenuation is the process of making things smaller, well, within the medical field, and it is also true broadly in science. Smaller and smaller and smaller waves of light, energy, transmission, particles of light. It is the process and the theory that is utilized to create vaccines. It is true within the process of vibrational healing. It's, to me, a very interesting notion when you marry it together with the notion of we are expanding and the universe is expanding. And within that expansion, it is necessary to have all these minute and, for the most part, unseen particles. And it is true within our human existence and our human form as well. And as we go into this awareness, Spirit is saying, of what people are calling light language and DNA activation, awakening, ascending, all those words that are put on it, we also need to understand the unseen, and Spirit saying the minutia, the quarks, all those kinds of things. So as an art, a divinatory art, astrology and things like tarot utilize the same process, the same notion, in order to create the repetitive pattern of the fractals of our existence, so that we can understand those things, take them into ourselves, and continue on our journey as we seek to become more highly, Spirit saying, defined and attenuated. Okay, so there's a lot. Let me toggle back for a second. There's a lot streaming through, and that's what's been happening. And I do think it has everything to do with Venus and Scorpio. Think about the types of, the eclipses and the trines and the patterns of the moon that have been going on. This has been a power-packed year. It's been really intense for all of us. And we are going, Spirit's saying, deeper and deeper into the attenuation of the energy set point. And it's really, literally, it's all about light, particles, and it is about the frequency of those things. So, now that I've turned on the spigot, there's a lot coming through. I'm going to try to stay focused, but I think I'm going to have a little challenge, partly because of the, Spirit's talking about Okay, yeah. Spirit's talking about light and electricity and amperage and voltage and things like that. So there's just a sort of a crowded bunch of terms coming through. All right. So I did make myself some notes to keep focused because I had a feeling this was going to happen. I'm just going to chat and review a little bit, and then I'm going to come to the chat room and we'll just talk to each other, okay? So if you have questions or if something comes to you, this is the other part of this. If something comes to you, please jot it down so that we can talk about it together in this moment and all moments going forward, Spirit says, because you, as a member of the Tapestry, one of the points of energy attenuation, you do hold keys to understanding and knowledge within yourself, but for all of us, okay? So I'm just going to check with the chat a little bit at the moment. Hi, Tani. I'm a farmer. Did I get that right? I love it. It's awesome. Hi, Katrina. All right, let me just hang on. I just want to see who else is here. All right. So I'm going to jump in. The other thing is, you know what? It's 12/12. So, you know, we all have that experience. It's happening to me. I think I said it in the last live stream. And it was probably a little bit of an over-exaggeration. It's not every time I look at the clock, but pretty much. So I know that my energy vibration is moving into a little bit deeper into its own attenuation. And I have felt it through our transition through the eclipses and the retrogrades and then the, you know, backed up, Spirit says, by the moon cycles. So I think that's why Spirit wants to talk about this today before we go into Venus retro. So that's where I'm going to leave the conversation. I'm going to we'll just together as energy set points, we're going to touch base into the intellectual pieces of information so that we can just sort of breathe them in, Spirit says, and walk with them as we go through Venus retrograde, which is going to be just the powerful cap on the year, I think. I'm not an astrologer, for those of you that don't know, and I've been so consumed that I haven't looked forward. But I'm thinking that might be the last event, Spirit says, that will help prepare us for the winter solstice. We'll have to look and see if that's true. All right. So let's see. I'm going to toggle back to the cards. Oh, I'm in the cards. I'm sorry, you guys. I thought I had hit the transition button. I hadn't. Okay, so like what happened last month, Spirit's talking about just sort of look into the cards that tell the energy vibration story and describe the attenuation of the energy. As the particles, as the wavelengths and all the things that are coming through show up in the cards, Spirit wants us to be more aware together and to have a common understanding about all these things. Okay, so, sorry, and I think you guys can tell what's going on behind me, right? My house is in a state of chaos in a way, but it's awesome. And I love that this is happening in this time frame this year. One of the things that Spirit's talking about is dark matter and how that is reflected in a fractal-like way with the notion of Scorpio and the notion of Venus in Scorpio. It is about the void, the deepest place in the ocean. And Spirit's talking about dark matter and black holes and all those kinds of things. So I'm not going to launch on that. I'm going to try to be a little bit focused. I'm going to do my best. And then we're going to chat briefly, and then I'm going to do my best, Spirit, please help me, to be brief today, which means I'm going to stop at 1 o'clock because I have a ton of work to do here to continue preparing for what's about to start here tomorrow. All right, so Spirit's saying it's a reflection. Okay, so back to the cards. While you're looking at the cards, those are the cards for the earth signs. And I decided to go ahead and use them because we are in this particular energy set point at this moment. All right. So let's start off with this concept of light language. Spirit wanted me to just sort of touch on these major thematic notions that are floating around in our awareness at this point. So, acknowledging that you folks probably all know about all this stuff, it's just a way to bring us to a conversation, okay? So, light. Look into the cards. Notice the places where light exists. Notice the places where darkness exists. Notice the types of things that are attenuated in alignment with the light and the darkness through the cards. That creates movement and shift and change, okay, while I talk. So, interesting that on the bottom left, there we see the dark goddess. In a sense, right? I'm using euphemisms, but that is the high priestess, the beautiful Morrigan, who reigns in the void and comes here into this place to help us transition back and forth between the dark and the light. And the transition, the type of transition that happens as we begin to sort of pay attention to those kinds of things around us and in our own lives. All right. So our reality is created from light. And it is light blended with darkness, the unseen things, the mysteries of the universe. And it is that concept that is the essential yin and yang aspect of the entire universe. And therefore, these energies are the original soulmates in a sense. And it is Spirit's calling it the intertwining of those experiences from which, and Spirit's saying, and into which our human frequency arises, and within those types of frequencies, we function in every moment. Part of what's coming through is Spirit's talking. You know, my spirit guides, as you know, if you've been following along, they're very opinionated. And sometimes they have some things to say about, all right, what I'm getting is not to subjugate the notions that are swirling around in our group think at this point, but to help us stay grounded in the essential truths of some of those things and not allow ourselves to turn them into dogma, which is part of what's happening. And so for me, as you guys know, I push back against some of these things, and it's based on my own experience of myself, my own experience of my life pattern and the energy that I walk with and that I do my best to understand and attenuate, Spirit says. Okay, so back to the cards, all right? Just as an example, Spirit's saying, and because we're still in Earth season. So, you know, we've all heard this notion that we're starseed and we're vibration and we're this and we're that. It's actually literally true. Right? So if we can give ourselves permission to walk in the knowledge that is true, then our process of coming home to our self-awareness, I think, is something that becomes more comfortable. And it does bring to us a lot of shift and change. The shift and change is destiny. It's meant to happen anyway. So there's no reason to fight against it, although most of us do, don't we, at some point? Because it takes time, just as the universe continually expands. And whatever the time is that it takes for a beam of light to travel across the universe, it takes time for us to evolve into our process and to expand because of the energy that is within us driving the process. And that's part of why I always say, be patient, be kind, be loving with yourselves. And when the moments of change and shift finally arrive, don't be surprised, Spirit says. They are meant to come and they are uniquely for you. And if you look around and you talk to all your friends, we each have our own unique path, don't we? And there's no surprise in that, Spirit says. And it is about the energy attenuation because we are meant to develop each of us uniquely because we are each unique energy wavelengths, particles, vibrations, etc. So, within this notion of light language, that's what it really means. What is the language that is embodied literally in our physical form? And yes, right down to the DNA. There is a language. There are, people call them light codes and DNA activation, etc. Right? So, these light codes, they are literally your frequency transmission. It's, some people call it your cosmic fingerprint. And it's why Spirit's been talking so much about coming into your purpose and understanding that you, as you stand in your life, are your purpose. And it is because of these notions of light language and energy vibration. So, my spirit guides, my purpose, because of the gifts I was blessed with and the things that I had to sort of wrangle with and move through in my own life, is to the best of my ability become uniquely aware of how my frequency affects you. And I've had a lot of travels with people over my lifetime, but specifically since I started building this building, which has its own frequency code built into it, maybe someday we'll just have an informal chat about that. So yeah, we are here to activate each other. And Spirit says there should be no surprise about that. It's just a matter of coming into the understanding and the knowledge and preparing yourself with understanding and with knowledge so that the things that are about to unfold here are things that you will be freely emotionally and psychologically aligned with, because it is a pattern, it is a fractal, and it is continuing, and that's what people mean when they talk about 5D. We are experiencing literally the continuation of the fractals of energy that are encoded within us, and therefore vibrate with everybody else around us and every living biological life form and all the things that are inanimate, as we all know, right? I'm assuming most of you have had experiences communicating with the earth and the rocks and the sky, and it seems very mysterious. Spirit says it's really not, and we're meant to come out of the notion that these things are unattainable and very mysterious and they have to raise your vibration. My spirit guides always say, it's really, in a sense, it's the dogma that's arising, and my spirit guides want to prevent us from getting stuck in that, I think, is, Spirit saying, just to widen, to keep us from getting, as humans, as we try to understand, Spirit's talking about the rise of religion and the way in which that has affected our journeys, needed for a certain time period, I think now kind of fallen away as we step into the next part of our understanding. So Spirit's saying, don't make it a religion, just understand it. Okay, I guess that was the point. Bear's going, yeah, that was it. All right, so back to the cards. So there's the beautiful Morgan. the dark matter, bringing her frequency to help bring forward the light. It's fascinating to me. So, when we get into our cosmic fingerprints and we think about astrology, the visual. Okay, wait a minute. Sorry, Spirit's talking to me. Okay, so it's a piece of intellectual information, like all of this stuff, that has evolved over time and come into our awareness as humans, and in order to illuminate and illustrate our unfolding and our pathway and what is to come, right? All these divinatory tools. So, your astrological set point that is revealed through the art of divinatory things like tarot, it does reveal if you look really deeply into it, and it's part of what I'm going to be learning and growing into this next year, because of some of the things that I understand, having not studied it at this point. I'm having some epiphanies about, I see how all these things are connected now. So I don't know how I'm going to fit that into my life, but I'm going to do my best. So, when you think about your astrological set point, really it reveals the light codes, if you will, and the language, the energy vibration, and the frequency of your particular being, and the way in which it is aligned with the other particular energy set points within a cluster. And we cluster here in this way because it is a reflection of the way in which the universe functions. And we know that we have galaxies and clusters of stars that exist and pull together due to gravity, due to this pull of a gravitational force. And yet they exist, all of them, within the mystery of dark matter. So, take a look at the left-hand column of the cards and just ponder that, Spirit says. And if you look all the way up to the top, we see the reflection. Spirit's calling it galactic in the moment, of the galaxies, of the universe. It is a fractal of the place in which we reside. And it's time for us to really, Spirit keeps saying, just come into the awareness, connect the strings, weave together the tapestry of all of these points of understanding. And the Spirit's saying, and you're going to feel really happy. So that you can, I think just so that we can have it, like any major, Spirit's talking about scientific discoveries, or any major discovery that has been made. And in fact, there just was a big discovery about dark matter. So go to the internet and check that out. Really fascinating. The deepest aspects of the universe are beginning. Spirit says we're scratching the surface of our understanding, and we've peeled off another layer. And again, it's happening while Venus is in Scorpio. And so Spirit just keeps talking about, saying things to me like, and so do they understand the reflection and the fractal-like existence of how all these things move and expand and contract and attenuate together, all for its own purpose. All right. So let's talk about quantum physics for a moment. As a science that has come out of the mind of humanity, if you will, which arises from within this notion of light, language, and vibration, that has been always activated within us, unfolding in its own time and in its own pattern, the way the universe unfolds and expands. That is why over time we have come into these ways of knowing. All right. So along comes quantum physics. And what it does is it explains and explores the theory that both light and matter consist of tiny, minute, mostly unseen particles of energy and space. And they each have a wave-like property associated with them. Now we come forward into spiritual exploration. After this is widely known, and those people who are meant to bring these, their frequency, vibrating in such a way that they were able to understand and discover, Spirit says, quote unquote, these notions in order to bring it forward for all of humanity so that we could begin to ponder that. All right, Spirit's talking to me about relationships. So there's a desire on the part of my spirit guides to help us all come into the broadest understanding possible of what that is. So that those discoveries, those things were made by human beings vibrating, if you will, having a certain pattern of energy that brought to them an awareness inside themselves. And that is how those discoveries are made. And so if we understand that, it is a way of, Spirit's talking about DNA activation again and strands of energy. I think wanting to drive home the point that so Spirit's talking about the tapestry. The tapestry of all these things and how they are all woven together. Those people who had those awarenesses, who had that capacity within themselves, were drawn to that study because it was their own frequency, which is why they were able to discover and understand it and bring it out into the open, Spirit saying, for all of us, in order to increase our ability to understand how it is we stand here in this place and what that means for each of us in a really broad perspective, okay? So if you think about that going forward, Spirit saying the strings of thought that I'm talking about, and think about this current New Age concept, if you will, no disrespect to anybody, about DNA activation, which, essentially I think it's dogma. It's a way of understanding, all right? So it is the activation of these things called light codes within us that have always existed. I do not believe that we need to come into a higher vibration. I do not believe that we need to, that it is work that has to be done. I do believe it is simply our evolutionary process. And we are in a moment when it is moving forward in all the ways that it is. And our awareness is increasing. And therefore our understanding increases. And the energy continues to attenuate in order to activate us. And that's why people talk about the awakening and twin flames and soulmates. Okay, I'm gonna bite that off because that's its own huge discussion, and I've gone there little bits. Maybe if we have time, we'll get into it. So, DNA activation. Is it higher vibration, or is it just what actually already exists? Right. So the methodology, if you will, of this awakening that's happening, it's actually unique to your own particular energy frequency. So when I always encourage people to follow their path and trust your pathway, if you come to a place of chaos, I actually was just speaking with somebody last night on a phone call about what happens when your life comes into chaos. Spirit says, just remind yourself of the Big Bang and know that it's meant to be and it's all okay. And things are going to unfold just like the universe did. And you are reflecting that process. And I know it's hard to be happy and to feel calm when your life is falling apart, or you suddenly walk away, or you look at your spouse, your family, and, Venus retrograde. There's some, Spirit says there's some shit that's going to happen. No doubt, right? Be kind. Be kind to yourself and know that balance will come. And it is the process that is meant to happen for you. You may not know the reason in the moment. Spirit says, Spirit's talking about the mind of the universe and the Big Bang. And in that moment, were we conscious of ourselves? Spirit says, yes, but it was a different type of understanding. And it was all that vibration, all that stardust, all that energy that evolved over, who knows? I don't know. Science doesn't even know. There are theories about it. So when you come to a place of shift and change, or when you come to another light body and you have an intense experience, be calm. Spirit says, let yourself just go, oh, wow, this is awesome. Right? And then stand in it and feel your frequency, because it is part of, I believe, what we're meant to be doing. Clearly, if we look around at the body of all this knowledge and the way the universe has evolved and the way the earth has evolved and the way humanity has evolved, again, Spirit keeps talking about it. Like, it just, don't be surprised. I think my spirit guides are talking about the time for being freaked out about this is over now. And so there is new understanding that is forming that will be coalescing like the earth did, and coming to a solid place within us so that we can continue to evolve and bring forward what is meant to happen here, like the cards show us. So the messages in the cards are very clear about some of that. If you look at the top row of cards, there are the winds of change are blowing. The seeds of what has evolved into this moment come forward and are blown forward, right? Bringing shift and change, drawing us all deeper into our own internal set point in order to bring a Big Bang Theory moment in our own lives, perhaps, so that this evolution can go forward. It's a really beautiful story through the cards. Spirit's talking about the earth element set point this month. So, while we're moving along, trust it. Follow your own path. Do not question yourself. It might look crazy to everybody around you. There is something that is attempting to evolve, not just in your own life, but out of the frequency that you carry within you. So feel yourself, understand your frequency, which me and my spirit guides always talk about. That is your purpose. It is your unique frequency. So within that idea, then we sort of come to the notion of Kundalini awakening, right? It is the movement of the attenuated energy of your vibration through the energy centers in your physical being. Spirit says, that's all. We're just not used to, as a collective, we are not used to being in that condition, Spirit says, yet. But it is beginning because of our own evolution, because of the way we've been literally vibrating together. Okay, so that's what Spirit's talking about. Wanting us to be true to ourselves and true to each other, and understanding the ideas of, there's a lot of the truth of these notions that we have intellectually as a way of understanding, because eventually we're going to just be in our physical knowledge, right? And that whole thing about DNA activation and 5D and all that kind of stuff. It's just about the evolution of these things, right? And we've been given all of the astrological events that we've had this year in order to continue the process. And so, of course, all right, Spirit, that's what Spirit's talking about. So, of course, we can expect that our relationships with each other are going to deepen and we're going to feel more energy from each other. We are all literally connected. Everybody, I'm going back to the cards, everywhere, every being. Look at the top left card. Okay. Literally, science now knows, we literally are connected through the vibration, through the energies and the thought patterns, which does create our reality. It is also true. We are already literally connected. 5D just means a greater awareness of these things. It's already happened. It's always been true. And so now, as the energy attenuates through your particular life and your particular mission, whatever that might be, as Spirit's talking about, if you don't have a mission, don't worry about it. Just be. And understand that you affect everyone because your vibration does go out. And that is what the Spirit says, that is what the sky is for. That is what the atmosphere is for. That is how it is utilized. Okay? So, fractals. Fractals are infinitely, complex patterns that are self-similar across different scales, like the energy attenuation. And they are just repeating a very simple process over and over and over in an ongoing feedback loop. And that's what we are doing as beings of light. We have our own feedback loop. Astrology helps us understand the different energy attenuation set points and some of the destiny, how it will unfold, and how we affect each other. The same concept is repeated in nature. So if you don't know about fractals, go to the internet and look up fractals, okay? And look at the way fractals are repeated in nature, and then look at the very same fractals repeated within the human body. And it will be no surprise, this whole notion of DNA activation and how these things all vibrate together in order to bring the evolution forward, okay? So if you don't know about fractals, they were discovered by a mathematician by the name of Benoit Mandelbrot back in 75, I think. There's a lot of cool information on the internet. So go and blow your mind and have some fun with that while Venus is in retrograde. Okay? And Spirit says, and ponder that while Venus is in retrograde. The notion of a fractal, a repeating pattern, and things evolving out of themselves, so to speak, into and out of, is also repeated in all the things I've been talking about. It is true within the field of homeopathy, which is energy healing. Spirit's talking about all the methodologies of energetic healing, right? Healing with sound vibration, within the sounds of nature, all these things have a similar foundation. They are all repetitive patterns. And we are going to grow into our understanding and awareness of that, and that is going to help us shift and change as well. So, I think I've said it. My theory is I don't think we need to ascend into anything, but we just need to begin to pull together the strings of this information that has come to us through our own energy attenuation so that we can understand and utilize the notions while we go about our lives. All right? So the tapestry. Let's talk a little bit about the tapestry, this energy attenuation that Dana asked about. In light of all that stuff that Spirit's been talking about, it would, of course, it is true. Okay, Spirit's talking about reductionist science. Okay, it is true within the field of science. It is true and demonstrated within all the things I've been talking about. There is a repetitive pattern. And then each set point of that pattern is extremely important. And that's why I put the picture of the fractal, um, uh, as the landing picture for the event today. One of the things when I first started learning about fractals that kind of blew my mind is I had this visual moment where the first time I saw that classic Mandelbrot set, I looked at it and I thought, oh, it's a picture of the Buddha, because I saw it from a distance. And so, Spirit saying, and yes, it is a picture of the Buddha. So those kinds of things have been flashing through my awareness lately. I've been getting images of, and Wally, we were talking about this, the Sacred Heart of Jesus, all those kinds of things, also fractals, of all the things that exist here, brought forward into the light of our awareness to help us begin to understand. And, look how long that's been going on, eons. And all of it sprang up out of our human understanding and our awareness and our desire to come closer into our magnetic bonds, which is what we are meant to do, I think, over time. So back to the cards. So, I think in terms of energy attenuation, the point, I guess, of all of this rambling is that the concept in general is a repetitive pattern in every notion that I've been talking about. The things that we've been discussing, the theoretical basis is repeated, and that has evolved over time as well. So what are the fractals of human understanding? The list, I'm sure, is unending. But, today we've been talking about light language, quantum physics, musical vibration, which I didn't even get to. I think I did talk about this DNA activation. Supposedly there are 22 codes that you're supposed to activate. And within music and the healing with sound vibration, there are 22 microtones. And I'm wagering a guess, is that if I delved into that a little more deeply, we would see that as a repetitive pattern as well. It's fascinating to me. So, everything we need is here. And one of the things, as I've been learning over my lifetime in all kinds of ways about energy, that's been my destiny, right? Is to learn about energy. Because I'm a fractal of you. And just like Benoit Mandelbrot and Einstein and all of these people who've brought forward these big discoveries, I think I'm just meant to be standing here to provide a point of reference for you and for myself and for all of us. And so I love thinking of myself in that way. I'm just a fractal. And it is one of the ways that we can understand how we are all connected. Spirit is saying, whether we are here in this realm or out in the other realm. All right. So, there's this notion within homeopathy that I studied for 8 years about energy attenuation. So if you take a substance and you want to use healing with something that's within our physical world, the most powerful way to do that is to reduce it in a quantum physics type of way, so that there is the matter has passed off and it is just pure energy vibration. And you put that into your mouth, and it does, I believe it touches your DNA and all your cellular structures, and it activates the immune system. That's why it works. And people can't figure it out. And to me, I think, it sits right squarely in the center of all the science that we've been able to elucidate into these moments. So I love the connections of all these things, and that we can be freed, Spirit says, into the notion that we exist as fractals of each other, as a form of energy attenuation, reflecting each other, vibrating together. Each of us is on the unique point of the fractal of our existence, just like a note within a chord, within a symphony. And then each note has 22 microtones, maybe more, right? I'm not an expert. I'm a student of all these things. So, when you think about yourself as a wavelength or a particle, it does reduce it down, and that's what Spirit's been talking about. So, okay, I'm doing pretty good. It's a few minutes before 1 o'clock. So, I'm just going to touch lightly. Given this discussion and the things that Spirit wants to talk about, let's talk about Venus in Scorpio. I talk all the time about love energy and my experience of love energy. And here we are, having come through the fractals of this year that we're in this moment in time, Spirit says, as we continue to expand. Now comes the moment. And I believe the water and the earth trines are still active. A lot of power still, right? Now we are going into the void, the dark matter. And Spirit's talking all about, all the notions that are out there about Venus and Scorpio and what it is. Okay, Spirit's talking about, again, sort of the dogma and the negative, that we tend to focus on the negative because of the taboos of our own societies that have evolved. But deep down, if you can come into that place of knowing inside of yourself, you know that that's all it's about. It is an energy attenuation. It's about love energy for sure, right? Venus plunging into the ocean, into the darkest place that exists in this realm that we inhabit. In order to arise back out of that place, bounce back and forth between Scorpio and Libra, okay? Balance. Spirit says, like a scuba diver, right? Dive deep, come up for air. Dive deep, come up for air. That's kind of what's happening. It's a rebalancing that's going on. And Spirit's talking about the yearning of the universe and the intense energy of creation. And in our human form, as we evolve ourselves and our understanding of all those things, pardon me, I'm getting a little hoarse. Okay, there was language coming through about it's a very necessary form of spiritual enlightenment, and we should take the notion as that and not freak out about all the dogma and all that Spirit saying crap, all the crap that religious societies would tell us about the taboo side, which really just only means about sexual energy. It is about Kundalini awakening, right? So if we're not balanced in our energy as human beings, can you have a negative outcome when you're in the moments of those types of energies that are streaming through from the universe? Sure, right? What does love energy mean to you? How have you come into knowledge of it inside yourself and in your own life? What is that for? What is that magnetic pull about? What is that gravitational pull towards another human being to express yourself, whether it's sexually or with love energy or close bonding of whatever kind, right? So it is the lack of balance that we are meant to be healing because of all the things that have come forward this year. So I think as we go into Venus, well, we're already there, actually, in Scorpio, and the retrogrades come on, I think Venus, is going to retrograde on the 6th of October. And Spirit's saying, just to let you know, right? We're going out into the dark matter, into the place where Spirit's talking about it in human terms. The forces at work within the universe that bring forward something like a Big Bang or a star being born, dark matter, a black hole, it just sucks everything right in. We don't know where it goes yet. Clearly there's a process at work, and Spirit says that's where we're going. So be happy about that. Be gentle with yourself. Certainly emotions are going to run high. And allow yourself to attenuate your own energy. and understand what the moments are for. We have 40 beautiful days of Scorpio with Venus residing there and in retrograde to let us go back over all the things that we've been doing this whole entire year, to now bring it down. Spirit says attenuate it down into the mysterious places, the really deep places that have to do with love energy, how that attenuates within our physical form. How do we feel it? And how does it activate us? What's it for? And so, the notion, wrapping up, that is the notion for me that Spirit's talking about essential shamanism. That's what it is to be a shaman, right? Same thing. It's a fractal. It's a reflection of what we have inside of us. And we are all vibrating in that way. And if you just follow your path and let the big bang come and, let the crashes of love energy flow over you, you will understand yourself as a shamanistic being, meant to be here in your purpose, allowing your frequency to flow from you as an energy center. All right. So I think that's it. I'm doing pretty good with the time. So I'm gonna toggle back over to the chat room. If there's a need for chat, I can stay a few minutes longer. But I'm just really curious to know what all of you are thinking and feeling about where we've been this year and how we're going forward. And you know what? I almost forgot to tell you. So this morning, I've had no hot water and I've taken all the appliances out of my house. So this morning I finally went somewhere else and took a shower. And I got back and I opened, came in the door and got ready to set up the live stream. There was a caterpillar right sitting here on my table that I use for these live streams. And I just thought, what a gift. I have no idea how that creature got in my house. But we had this moment of transformation. Spirit's been talking to us all year about it. And the butterfly came in the middle of a snowstorm, just a crazy sort of ice storm, snowstorm type of winter here. And I don't know, do any of you guys know anything about caterpillars? It seems to me that this is the wrong time of year for that. But, I'm taking it as a notification of more transformation. We're about to go into the cocoon of Venus in Scorpio retrograde. So we can go back over all the things that we've been learning and feeling and experiencing all year and go into the next part of our cocoon state, a chrysalis, in order to emerge back out into the light when this is over, and then transition into the winter solstice and prepare for what's coming next year. All right. So let me come over to the chat room and see what you guys have been up to. Oops, wrong button. Sorry, gang. Hey, Kimberkiss. Good to see you. Hi, Elaine. Rob, hi. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you, Rob, so much for your beautiful communication back and forth and the gift of the music that you sent me.